Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
How do you completely fill your summer camp? In today's episode, I am going to give you the very basic secret sauce to making sure that your summer camp is busting at the seams full. What I love about summer camp is, depending on those ages that you accept, most of our centers that we're working with, they can actually take a lot more kids. The ratios get really flexible. The profit margins get a lot more attractive. But why do most centers ignore summer camp? Now, there's a lot of reasons as to why they ignore them. The biggest one is that they want a break. A lot of centers that we work with, they're like, we don't want to do anything above and beyond from what we're doing. We have care 12 months out of the year. We don't want to add a summer camp to the mix. The second reason is that a lot of centers, they're worried that if they have older kids around younger kids, how is this going to then kind of spill over, and is that going to negatively affect enrollment? And there's a whole lot of other stuff that can take place there. And yes, that can get to be a little dicey when you have 3-year-olds around 9-year-olds, for example. So I get it. And if your space isn't conducive to that, that can be a whole nother story. But for the centers that are like, Michael, I want to fill my summer camp. We've never been full. Never been full. How do we make it happen? The answer is extremely basic, extremely simple, but it's one that even when I give you the answer, you will not execute it. The answer is right in front of you. You have to out-market all the other centers in the area, as well as all the other institutions that are offering summer camp. One key word in that entire sentence: out-market. You need to be able to make sure that your center is top of mind. Your center is in front of these families. You have to make sure that your marketing efforts are completely stepped up. In previous episodes, we've talked about this concept of marketing math, meaning that everything, when boiled down, is a simple math equation. We need to figure out how much money do we need to invest that's going to equal X amount of tours, X amount of enrollments. So if 50 leads come in, how many tours do we get? How many enrollments? And then you continue to monitor that data, and then you continue to improve the areas that are the weakest. So for example, if you've got 100 leads and you only are able to book 10 tours, there's levers that you need to pull. Either the lead quality is not good, or more often than not, it's the follow-up, the speed of the follow-up, the messaging, all of that is not where it needs to be. It's just not on point. So you would work that metric. But when you're looking at this data, and then you start to get to a place where you're able to dial in my favorite metric, and that is CPE. What is your cost to acquire one enrollment? And I can promise you, when you get to a place where you know that number, and then you can consistently fall within certain thresholds. Like 1 month, you're not going to say, well, it was $1,000. The next month, it was $10,000. Then it was $200. Like, your numbers have to start to be kind of around the same place. When you get to that place, to me, it's game over, because all that you have to do is continue to improve and increase your spend. This is a game of attention, and it's a pay-to-play game. It's a pay-to-play game. If you were to say, Michael, what separates a 7-figure center from an 8-figure center? The 8-figure centers are marketing engines, and not only marketing, but also sales. They know that they can methodically open another location or add on more capacity at another location, and they know exactly what it's going to cost to acquire those enrollments. So they come out of the gates swinging. They're not investing $1,000 a month for summer camp. They're throwing $10,000 for a location. And so, Michael, how do they afford to do that? It goes back to my first point around marketing math. You can't outmarket your competition if you don't have your numbers in sync, if you don't know exactly how much a lead is costing, for example, and how many leads you're getting and how many tours you're getting. You're not going to be able to fill your summer camp. You're going to simply be guessing, and you're going to back yourself into a corner where either you massively underinvest, which is almost what always happens, or you do the opposite and you kind of realize it when it's a little bit too late and, oh, geez, we just blew through a ton of money and we didn't get what we were looking for. Now we're in a hole. It's that kind of delicate balance of finding the right amount of money to invest. But if you know that the only thing that you need to do is to be able to outmarket everyone else, how does that start to change your game? Number one, you should have already been advertising for summer camp. We see a lot of centers that they start offering summer camp in late June, for example. They start advertising the first week of June. By then, people have already made a lot of their decisions. Are you going to grab the stragglers? Yeah, there's a good chance. But what about the parents that have already been planning for the last couple of months and they're planning around their vacations and they're getting all that stuff dialed in? If you know that the YMCA, for example, offers a summer camp, and a lot of those YMCAs, they start advertising in January. Now, they don't ramp up their budgets exponentially, but they're continuing. They want to try and outmarket everyone else because they know summer camp can be very lucrative to a program like that. So if I'm saying you need to outmarket everyone, you need to back into some of the data. So what is your goal for summer camp? How many have you historically had? And how much have you had to invest to get those families? So simple math. Let's take it at a per location level. Let's say we can end up hitting 150 kids for summer camp. We've never had more than 50, but we could take 150, and if we had another 100, it would be an extra $200,000 to our bottom line. Not having to add any more labor, it would be really, really lucrative. But then why do you continue to not invest? If you know that you've kind of peaked out at 50, and maybe you invested, let's call it $5,000. What if this year, instead of going crazy, you were like, well, let's do 10,000. Let's double the budget, and let's kind of really monitor the numbers and keep an eye on the lead volume, and let's keep an eye on the tours and the conversations, and let's make sure it's moving. And if it's moving, I'm going to add another 5,000, maybe even another 10,000. You're talking big numbers here. I am. But if you know historically what you have done in the past, and you know historically how much you've invested. Now, a lot of centers, when I ask that question, they'll say, well, we invested zero. So I could argue that investing anything for summer camp is going to be better than doing nothing. But if you know how lucrative it is, if you know that you're going to have plenty of extra capacity, if you know that you want to be able to keep all the teachers that you have, for example, without having to lay some people off for a short time, and you know the answer is, well, let's knock this summer camp out of the park, why do you not continue to invest? Outmarket everyone else. So where would I be marketing? Now, I start with digital because that, for me, it's the easiest and quickest to get rolling. So for the centers that we're running their marketing, we've got ads going on Facebook, we have ads going on TikTok, we have ads on YouTube, on Google, on Reddit. We've got ads all over the place. If you're on YouTube and searching for videos and you're in the area and you meet our criteria, you're most likely going to see an ad about summer camp. What ends up happening is the centers that we're working with, that we're blitzing the marketplace, they're rapidly becoming omnipresent. Now, omnipresent simply means that It's very, very hard for a family to go a day or two without seeing one of your ads because you're literally showing up everywhere. Now that's in addition to us buying traffic on all the local news sites and things like that. So legitimately you're seeing this center everywhere. Now the other piece when I'm saying you need to outmarket everyone, you've got to think about the mindset of parents a little bit differently for summer camp with an emphasis on camp. If you don't have some kind of fun program, if you don't have something that's going to be able to stand out, yes, if you continue to outmarket them, you will drive more enrollments for summer camp than you have in quite some time. Plain and simple. But if you take that and you have a really interesting program, some really interesting curriculum, you've got field trips that are unlike anything everyone else is doing, if you have some ways to kind of change it up a little bit. I want to position the centers that we're working with. I want to see you position yourself in a very different league than everyone else. What do I mean by that? If your center is just, hey, it's traditional summer camp, we run it from 7 o'clock until 5 o'clock, you can drop off anywhere between this time, and here's the rate. And we're going to do some fun things during the summer. That's fine, but it's not playing to the mindset of the parents. Think about a lot of these parents. If they're feeling bad that a lot of the other kids are going to be at home, a lot of these other kids are able to sleep in and just lounge around because, well, maybe the parents work from home and it's summer. So if you know that the parents are going to be a little bit upset that they're not able to fulfill that, the way that I combat that is by having, again, fun activities. I like having unique curriculum. I like having some things, again, that are they're different than other people are doing. Now, are there kind of the traditional things that a lot of people like to do all the time? Like you're going to go visit the zoo, for example, or an aquarium, or maybe you're going to have some of the animals come to you, like the petting zoo or the reptile zoos. You're going to have an ice cream truck. Yeah, I like that stuff. I want you to do that stuff. What I'm then pushing back to you on is, what else can you do to then take things to a whole nother level? How can you elevate things to a different level? And it could be renting certain things. Maybe every other week you do a carnival, for example. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. But again, if you know that if you were to hit these enrollment goals, it's going to equal X revenue to your bottom line. So again, I come back to the marketing math. I come back to the data. I've been using this phrase a lot, data, not drama. I want to know, what is the data telling me? And if the data says highly profitable, we've never been at capacity, we barely have invested in marketing to hit bigger numbers at this particular time. If you continue to do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result, that again is a definition of insanity. You need to bet on yourself. You need to pause for a minute and say, well, what if it actually does work? What if instead of having 50 kids, we end up getting 70, 80, even more? Because we went all in on marketing. And again, going all in on marketing isn't you're throwing $1,000. You need to put some heavy dollars in your marketing. You need to have that omnipresence where you're not just advertising on Facebook and saying, well, we put it out there, nobody responded, guess we're not going to have much going on for summer camp. It needs to be everywhere. There are people on Reddit that'll never go on Facebook, for example. We're hitting all of these alternative channels so that parents see you. They see your message. They see some of those unique things that you're going to be doing for summer camp, and they're like, hey, it kind of grabs them at that minute to where they want to fill something out, learn more, have that conversation. Now, I know this was basic. I know this was simple. But it's about the execution. And that's where, when I continue, I mean, I've been in this industry for, 12 plus years in terms of in childcare. I've been in marketing for 25 years. That starts to age and date myself. It's not that you don't necessarily know what to do. It's you're not executing on the actions that you know you need to be doing. And that goes for me as well. I know that next step. So you need to be figuring out, is there something else that's getting in your way? More often than not, it's a mindset thing that you need to improve a couple areas of your mindset. You need to jump and understand that if you want to get over here, you have to do some things differently. Outmarket everyone else in your local area. Your summer camp will get you levels that you've never experienced. And when you combine that with having curriculum and activities that are very different from everyone else, I promise you, your center will be the belle of the ball, so to speak, and having a lot more enrollments and a lot more money to your bottom line. Get out there, take action, outmarket everyone else, and dominate with summer camp. Michael Tazzer signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.